Alright guys, good morning. It's cold outside.
This is real cold.
It was supposed to be the first snow, but it didn't happen. So it's just cold. It didn't rain either, it just was dry. But yeah, I think the high today is like 37. So let's just go over what this is, where we're sitting at. So we have a 91 E30, was a 4-cylinder, now currently has an S52 and a ZF and an E36 M3 drive shaft in it. It's never been run in this car. It was just bolted in and it's here. So that's what we have in terms of drivetrain. For brakes, we have brakes. For suspension and stuff, we have ground control. It's the E36 M3 E30 5-lug coilover setup with their camber caster race top hats. And then, so with that, we have E36 knuckles, 96 to 99 E36 M3 lower control arms, E36 M3 brakes in the front, and I believe we have an E36 M3, or maybe it's out of an M Roadster, steering rack in it. So good enough. There's more. We'll go over it as we go. Today, I would love to get this thing to start. If you guys watched videos of the Turbo Stroker E30 and that wiring adapter harness I made, I cut that off of this because this engine was already in an E30 before I got it. I bought a wrecked white E30, looks super similar to that one, and it was an 85 325E, so it had the square C101 plug, and that's an 84 318i, and it had the square C101 plug, so I cut it off that to use there. And then off that M20 harness, I cut a round C101. So first things first, this is where I cut it off of. We're gonna take back this harness tape and we're gonna get out our E30 bins, see if we can find that connector, and we're gonna get that wired up real quick. After we get that wired up, things that would keep it from starting, we do not have a battery. We also don't have a way to open the trunk. So I think today would be a good time to start calling people and figuring out a key situation for the rest of this car. I did see some comments on there that maybe the glove box is the master key. I don't know if this car has a glove box there.
From this car.
It might be in the trunk.
Oh.
So either way, it should be really close. So if we can just find a locksmith that can just like fine tune it, we should be good. But we also don't have a fuel pump assembly in this car, so we're gonna look for one of those. I graciously gave Hamish the fuel pump assembly out of this car for his car, because his car didn't have one. Did we keep the housing, or you took everything, right?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I really don't remember.
We'll see what's in this car, and we'll go from there.
I think mine was just missing everything, so I did get everything out of it. Yeah.
So I know I have a fuel pump, because when we put the late model tank in that E30, we saved the pump. So it's probably in one of the bins with this plug. So we're gonna do some searching and find that. But I probably need the rest of the assembly as well. So we'll see what we can figure out. We're gonna do this car really thoroughly, but we're gonna do some stuff like a little backwards. I wanna get the motivation. What I wanna do first is drive this car. So it's not clean, it's real dusty. This engine was recently resealed though, before it went in the other E30. It was only in the other E30 for about a year. So it should be a very nice, clean, proper done setup. It's dirty from sitting and us touching it with the swap and stuff. So we'll get it right. We need to get a fan set up on it. I really want to do AC in this car, which I can't remember if I deleted it all. Looks like I deleted it all. So we're gonna have to find some AC lines and a compressor.
So there's this AC line.
Yeah, we don't have the line to it though. Yeah, like right here.
So that other one.
AC line goes to, we have this one from the compressor, but because this was a 4-cylinder, it goes in the wrong spot. So we need to have that line remade. So I would love for this car to have AC. So before we get started on that, let's look at this other car. So if you guys saw the last video, which if you didn't, it's right there. This is a 1992 E30 318i convertible with a hardtop. It's a pretty cool car. Had an M42, same as this car did. It currently has nothing. One thing I realized I neglected to say in that last video, This is the very first E30 I've ever owned.
Nice.
Yeah, this was the first one I ever bought. So I'm really glad to be able to finish it. I guess the best way to go about this is going to be the over-the-top car, and this car is going to be the, I don't want to call it budget because it probably still won't be very cheap, but it's going to be done economically the right way. So we're not going to cut any corners, but we're not going to go over the top for any real reason. I think the only thing we might do is 5-lug swap it, and that's pretty much just so I can take these wheels and these springs for that car so that I have another set. We may or may not need all of the 5-lug stuff that's on this car depending on what we're doing. So, but anyway, let's get some bins out on the ground. Actually, I think we should do a little cleaning first. So we're gonna do some cleaning and then we'll be back. All right guys, we got our 4 bins. There's one hiding back there. This is all the E30 stuff that we put on the shelf for when we cleaned. So we're gonna just pretty much go through these all the way, like empty out the entire thing, sort it slightly, and then if we find anything we need for either of these cars, or at least we'll have like a eye on what we have and what we don't have. So we're gonna get on that right now, and here's time lapse. Alright, we found a couple good things. We got our pigtail we were looking for, and the little bracket thing that holds it, and it's not a broken one, so we'll be able to mount that. I don't remember how it goes, like that way or that way. One of those ways. We'll get that on, and we wire it, just go like that. And then, I don't think these are all of the parts, but it's a good start to, this is off of a 318i, so what this car would have been. It like, you can cover all of the stuff with it. And then this one goes all the way over here. So you can really make it clean. I'll have Hamish put a picture in right now of what a 24 valve swap E30 with those panels looks like. You can see it looks way better. So I don't know if this is all of it or if we'll collect it. This was off another car I parted out a while ago. It's a little tired, but whatever, we got it. So it can just go off to the side for now. We're gonna be doing this wiring right now. I just want to point out like a couple more things about the cover. So this is an S52 out of a 96 and 99 M3, but it has an OBD1 manifold on it. So we don't technically have a cover that fits these correctly. It still has the OBD2 fuel rail on it, so you can see it has this adapter plate so that it lines up to hold the fuel rail down. But the second beauty cover that's the right width for this doesn't line up with these holes. So I don't know what we're gonna do there, but we will come out with something. I'll say it too, I'm not the biggest fan of the 24 valve, or I mean of the OBD1 intake manifold swap. You do gain a little bit of horsepower. I think it's around 11. But you do lose a little bit of download torque because of it. So I think this car is probably light enough that it won't really matter. I don't think it's worth the money to do the swap. It's definitely not worth the effort to undo the swap, but if you think these manifolds are worth almost $200 now, if you paid 200 bucks for this and then the time and effort and then whatever hoses you did to do it, I wouldn't do it. I would just drive with what you got. So we're gonna get our wiring stuff set up, and I'm gonna look at some of the other things that are going on here, because like I said earlier, it's been a long time since I've actually seen this car and looked at it and done anything with it. So there's a lot of, like, the throttle cable isn't plugged in, so hopefully that's this one. But there's gonna be a lot of like just looking and figure stuff out. But yeah, let's get our wiring set up. All right, so this one, this harness has already been thinned considerably. You can tell there. He only had the things that he needed in it, and if we were also just mentioned before, this was in a very early model car. So there's a lot of parts that weren't in this connector because they wouldn't go into the square C101 that he had. So we're gonna have to add stuff later to get things like attack, and I'd like to get the fuel consumption thing to work and those kind of things. But for today, we'll get what we got going. I'd love to get this car running and driving and then dial things in. So that's what we're we're shooting for. So what I'm gonna do is we're not gonna finalize the harness in any way, but we'll connect the wires that we're gonna connect. We'll heat shrink those ones, and then we'll leave the other ones ready to go so they can just be added into these fray, so they go directly into that, so we don't have to cut this boot later. And then when we're all done, then we'll wire loom this all nicely, so that when you see it right there, everything looks good and OEM-ish. We're gonna get started. I'm not gonna tell you what the individual colors are. I'll tell you that I'm looking at a diagram in RM European, which is what we did the last time we did it. If you would like to watch a video on like the start to finish S52 swapping that Will and Aaron did on the channel a while ago, it's right up there. But there's a bunch of different ways to do things too, so don't take things that they did as like the only way to do it. So this one, but there's a good wiring right up in that one on how to do it. They made an adapter. I'm not a big fan of the adapter because I don't want to have a plug right here and then another plug down here somewhere. I'd rather just have the one plug. To me, if you want to have your car go back to something else, just cut it, rewire it again. So yeah, we're gonna get to it. All right, guys, we got the beginnings of the wiring done. This should be enough to get it to run. It's gonna be a little more work than I thought for adapting the harnesses, just because of what this S52 was in before, being the early E30. And that guy who owned the car before ran the connector to the C104 plug. This is the connector in the early cars that's next to the DME, like under the dash. And this has the tach and coolant, and maybe it doesn't have coolant, but it has tach and like the econometer and stuff. He ran coolant into this somehow, but because of that, I can't wire those into here without ripping apart the entire harness. So what I think I'm gonna do, because I don't want to rip the entire thing apart, is I'm just gonna rewire from the sensors to this plug right here. But I haven't heat shrinked them yet. We're gonna put them in, see if we can get this to fire. So let me get set up here, and we'll find some sort of power source, and we'll find, let me see if it has oil, and we'll find something flammable, and we'll see if we can get it to run. I to mention, EWS deleted DME. Jason hooked it up as always, so we're good. I don't remember what happened to this one, but it left a while ago. We got some stuff rigged up. This is pretty much just to check our wiring. This is not like, cool, let's go driving. So since I can't get into the trunk, we've put a battery there. We've got our ground. We've got our starter hooked up. We checked oil. There is oil in it. Actually seems to be a little too much oil in it, but it'll be all right there. There isn't fuel lines hooked up to this rail, and there isn't a fuel pump in the car. So we're just seeing now that it cranks. We don't have an ignition switch.
No?
I found an ignition switch.
This thing's pretty complete.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit unplugged down here.
All right, found our issue. I'd never grounded the battery, or grounded the car, or whatever you want to say. I'm going to use both pieces of the jumper cables for extra power.
Maximum ground. Ground control on the car and on the wiring.
Let's see if it at least makes some noise now. I was just like, man, this is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, especially all the underdash shit on the E30s looks crazy.
I mean, it still might be a nightmare, but who knows?
I hear shit. It's groaning.
I don't know what's angry, but something slightly angry.
Are you cranking it or just
No.
turned it on? Okay.
It didn't do it that time.
The groaning?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just waking up.
I'm thinking we're just super down on power.
Yeah, it could be. Do you have the multimeter? We can check real quick.
And it's going to say I've never many volts for that.
The jump packs are charged. I think I just saw an interior light turn on.
Nice.
Speaks to the quality of this build. Yep, there it is. On.
Alright.
Alright, let's see it.
Will she crank?
She will wipe. Nice.
It turns over with a key.
A key not in the ignition lock, but a key in the ignition.
It still means that my wiring was wired.
That's true. And I heard like compression bubbly noises. This is good. This is basically ready to hit the streets. Looking at all this. That's good. I'm gonna add more. I mean, it's cranking.
Okay.
Nothing's catching on fire.
So I think that was enough of pre-oiling, we'll call it.
Priming the oil pressure.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. And just so you know, Hamish, never spray degreaser into an engine.
No?
No,
Okay.
it's not. That's just going to destroy your engine.
Okay. Brake clean is the stuff.
Yeah. If it coughs, we're good. It doesn't need to start.
Didn't even stutter. Hell yeah.
S52, baby!
Killing it.
So, I bought this car, I'm pretty sure, in like 2018.
Yeah.
Same year I bought that one. It's never ran. This is the third engine that's been in this car. They've all been 24 valves. Got an M52, an S50, and now an S52. Never got any of them to run.
No.
I gave up before. Awesome. And then just to reiterate our plans with this one. Sorry if this was a boring video, but we're just trying to get them out there and get them done. But I'm really excited that that runs. So.
Yeah, that takes away like the big hurdle kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
The car starts from inside. EWS is deleted. It doesn't have a fuel system. So the next video is going to be getting it to have a fuel system. And we're probably good on that. Maybe part of that video too, we can have somebody come and finish the key. If any of you guys are Denver people and know anybody here, let me know. And then it can almost drive. So the reason why it can't drive, this car doesn't have a diff in it.
That's right. We just pulled it.
We did just pull it. I sold the diff in this car. It was a 325 LSD. But I have a diff. So this is don't look at the cover. Cover says 293. It's not a 293. If you look right here, you guys can see that that way. This is a 323. And this 323 is out of my M Roadster. So we'll be running that. The only part that's a bummer, it's a very tired LSD. So we got plans for that, so stay tuned for that one. Hint, it's not going to be in the car permanently. We still have to do stuff to the rear after we get this in. Hell yeah, I'm stoked that that ran.
Yeah.
So,
It's been a long time coming.
yeah. So
this thing is low, dude.
it is very low. We're not going to have it be this low because the tires are going to destroy the fenders when we drive it.
Yeah.
And I also want to get an IS front lip.
So it's gonna
It's
be
like
even
twice
more
the
low.
size of that one. We should get IS side skirts too.
This thing's gonna be sick.
Super stoked.
It's already sick. It just sits.
So big thing, just be patient with us on this one. We're gonna put out content on it. I thought this was gonna be a real quick build, and that's why I put it up as the thing. But I think this is actually gonna take quite a bit of time. And if you're wondering about the red car, I just want to get this one to like a running and driving state. Not anywhere near completed, but literally so we can start it, drive it out of the shop, drive it back into the shop, that kind of stuff. So we don't have 2 dead cars taking up space. But I'm going to start working on them together, because you'll end up with like 2 parts. You'll do one thing and be like, yo, we can just go do that over there real quick. So what we're going to do is just get this thing driving, and then we can work on finalizing both cars. So as soon as this one drives, we'll pull it out. We'll pull in the swap car that the engine and transmission, everything's coming out of for that one. We'll come bring it right here, and then we can drop the stuff out, put it right there, and get that car back out of here. Bring this one right back in. So I think it'd be cool building them at the same time when they're super similar, so we can figure out problems together, like on both of them at the same time, and just we can look back and forth. Like if we're missing something, we can just go look at that one and vice versa. So I think it's gonna work really well. Thanks for watching. Please like the video. The likes make a huge difference. So if you guys are just watching and not liking, please like. Just click it. It just takes a second. If you don't like it, I mean, I guess hit the thumbs down, but that's not cool. I want to get as many subs and as many views as possible before, I was going to say Christmas, but I think I might change it to the end of the year, because I think Hamish is going to be gone around Christmas. I haven't figured out quite the rules, how it's going to work yet, but some sort of like challenge that when I hit a certain amount of views and a certain amount of subscribers, I'll do a certain amount of things however many days before the goal time. So it'll be very entertaining the more subscribers and views I get before a thing happens. So that was really weird and awkward, but stay tuned. So see you tomorrow.